And I want to get a top hat and a trench coat.
Yeah, that's really going to help everything, Josh.
The top hat and trench coat all together.
Yep. And that's how I'll walk into the church office building.
And I want to
day.
give children candy.
Drive around in a white van.
A windowless van.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
This is now going to be incriminating evidence against you.
Very sorry.
I'm innocent.
Until proven guilty.
Wait. I am not a crook.
I'm not a crook.
That was a great Nixon.
Or I say,
Fantastic Nixon.
I did not sleep with that woman.
You sounded like Bill Clinton, but like if Bill Clinton was 97 years old.
Bill Clinton was 97 and mixed a little bit with The Godfather.
I didn't sleep with that woman because my hip would have broken.
sorry, Bill.
At that point in his life, he's back to Billy.
William.
It's fun looking at the quotes from the presidents because they all have their own thing. Like President Bush getting the one quote done, like "Fool me twice." Wait,
You can't fool me. It's nuclear.
No, this is Bush. We're gonna find her. We're gonna kill her. We're gonna find him and bring him to justice.
No, Josh, that's
Katrina.
I was gonna say that sounds more like Trump.
I know. I'm sorry. It's because Trump was president, right?
I see.
We're gonna find her and bring her to justice. That's more Abraham Lincoln. 407 years ago.
He did have a very high, soft voice.
Now that impression was more Don Knotts. Cut that out.
Oh, should we get going?
no.
No, it's going to happen anyways. Welcome.
Oh, sorry.
You can start it.
Welcome.
I'm just
I want to
kidding.
say that too. I felt left out.
Welcome, everyone, to the Twaddling Along Podcast. I am your host, Dan McBride, here with my co-hosts and brothers, Josh.
Dude, you psyched me out, man.
I did.
You did like a look at Jake and then threw the ball to me.
Yes.
Hi.
And Jake.
Oh, now I have to come up with something because you took mine. Ghosts.
What?
Toast.
Why are we talking about ghosts and toasts?
Post.
Because this week on the Twaddling
Malone.
Along...
Oh, sorry.
This week on the Twaddling Along Podcast, we are back with the supernatural, the scary, the spooky. And Josh, it is your topic. What are we talking about?
We're back with the spooky Josh.
Spooky and scary Josh. I'd just like to give a little, let's see, what's the word? I'm like, a disclosure. I have been insulted by my brother saying that I've been too immature past couple weeks, and so I'm going to keep this really serious.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not going to.
You couldn't even make
You
it through the
couldn't
first
even
5
do it.
minutes of our rambling.
That's true.
Rambling.
So,
I just had a stroke.
gentlemen.
Ooh, that was-
Start your engines.
No, do you know what that sounded like? That sounded like the Traveler from Morrowind.
Oh,
yeah.
That did. Wow.
Here comes the cards.
That's a blast from the past.
That's-
All the people listening are like, what?
What the heck is Morrowind?
But anyway, gentlemen, are you ready to go down into the scary realm of something close to home?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to be talking about...
Wait, did you want me to agree too? I'm all for it.
We're going to be talking about a something, like I said, a little bit closer to home, and that is Utah.
People working together.
Utah.
What a great place to be.
Utah.
It's a swear in the Philippines, Utah.
So let's talk about history of Utah.
This is the place.
And that's why it's scary. This is the place.
Ooh, well, I don't like
That is a scary place, but we're not talking about. But Utah, settled by Mormon pioneers in 1847.
Terrifying.
But also, there were... Oh my gosh! The pioneers!
The Mormons.
There were a bunch of native people, native tribes, and groups of people that lived here beforehand, as well as the Spanish crossed through southern Utah before the Mormon pioneers came.
Father Escalante.
Who?
That's who it was. Father Escalante.
He settled Santa Fe. Or what? No.
That was
Santa Fe,
really
New
well
Mexico.
pronounced, Josh.
I'm pretty sure
Santa Fe.
Santa Fe. No, that's why it's called
Santa Fe.
That's why it's called Escalante, Utah.
Yes.
You're pronouncing it so Utah, though.
Escalante.
It's an Escalante, Nick. It's nearby a hurricane.
But with the Mormon pioneers and native people coming to Utah and settling here, they brought some friendly friends.
What friendly friends did they bring?
New Yorkans.
New Yorkans?
Yep.
Is that what they're called? I think they're called New Yorkers.
I
like New Yorkans.
Yorkers?
You're all a bunch of dang New Yorkans.
They done brought them New Yorkans.
Hey,
They're
speaking of
grumpy
which,
lot, the New Yorkans.
I already told everyone that this is going to be bad. I'm going to go on so many tangents. They officially, and I repeat, it is now law that people of Utah are called Utahns. That has never been a law until now.
What was it before?
What would we have been?
Utahers or Utah
Utahers.
or Utonians.
The Utonians.
I like Utonian.
Makes me feel like a alien.
Utonian. But anyway, so the Mormon pioneers settled, and there so happened to be buildings built.
They did build buildings.
And the natives built places.
Josh is like, and they were industrious.
And with that,
Like bees. Oh, the hive is the Utah something.
In our lovely desert.
for all those who don't know, that's the Jaredite word for beehive.
And if you don't know who a Jaredite is, read the Book of Mormon.
But anyways, they built mansions in Salt Lake City. And so the first place we're going to talk about that is spooky is the Devereaux Mansion.
Ooh, Devereaux.
Owned by William Jennings.
Yeah, why is it? In looking, I don't know why it's called Devereaux.
The person that owned it before Jennings.
No, Jennings built it.
No, William Staines built it.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, that's right.
William Staines was the very first person who built it, and he's very famous.
Was his nickname Devereaux?
No, but he was very famous for being the person who actually started the landscaping in Utah.
Ooh.
And
So
part of the reason
he put grass in?
he was the one that Brigham Young was talking about when Brigham Young said to make the desert bloom.
Oh.
He was Brigham Young's horticulturalist.
Interesting. So
What was that word again? Horticulturalist.
Horticulturalist.
Culturalist. All right.
So William Jennings, Utah's first millionaire and mayor of Salt Lake City between... Oh, sorry, I skipped. We were talking about Staines. One of the first settlers and prominent members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He sold the house to Joseph Young after it was built to, like I said, Joseph Young. I'm just repeating myself.
Yes,
who was
you
the
are.
son of Brigham Young in 1865.
Did you guys look at William Jennings at all? He's actually kind of a really interesting character. So he came to Utah and set up a mercantile shop. He was actually one of the very first. And as he was setting up this shop, he realized that the only way that he would get the goods is if he started investing really, really, really heavily in transportation and everything. So he was actually kind of an industrialist, one of the very first industrialists. So much so that he was the very first millionaire in Utah.
Yeah, first millionaire in Utah, and he was basically the train baron of Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you have, the steel barons and train barons out there, but he was the train person here in Utah. And so he got his large fortune from bringing railroads to the desert city and through a plethora of mercantile, or whatever you call it, investments. It was sold after his death in 1886 and stood as an oddity in the developing neighborhood. It served as an alcohol treatment center for quite some time, and it was eventually bought in 1979 by the state of Utah for $1.
Do you guys know where this is at?
I have no idea. I feel like I've seen it before.
Do you guys know where the KSL building is downtown?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Literally in almost the parking lot of the KSL building.
I pass that literally every day.
You can go up to it, and it is super out of place now because it's like surrounded by industrial and everything like that. But it's still there. It's still the
Interesting.
Devereaux Mansion. By the way, the reason that it is the Devereaux is because William Jennings, his family had a plot in England that was called the Devereaux plot, and it was kind of an homage to his family's land.
Interesting. So, the state of Utah, like I said, bought it in 1979, and then a fire broke out and burned it, but was restored again and bought by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and is a meeting space for various offices and archaeological digs commonly take place around the site, since it was one of the earliest mansions in the area.
So what's spooky about this place, Josh?
So we were talking about our dear friend William Jennings. I would call him a dear friend.
Bill? We like to call him Bill.
Bill or Billy.
Billy Jennings.
He had a daughter.
Oh.
She died.
Ugh.
And now she haunts the place. Many sightings have taken place, and she plays tricks on those in the house, but seems to be a peaceful spirit. So she doesn't antagonize as much, but she plays tricks because she is a child creature and or spirit.
Isn't she the one that hangs out like on the upper floor and waves at people from the window?
She does. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of people that, back when it was owned by the state of Utah before it burned down, it was for a very short time a restaurant that was leased out to it. And a lot of people that went to the restaurant would take pictures out of the front as kind of like a, I don't know, oh, we just ate at this really cool restaurant, or they had a lot of weddings. And there's a lot of perceived ghost sightings in these pictures.
Ooh, do they have some?
I think there were some. There's a few.
And while Jake is looking that up, I want to hear your guys' take on ghosts, since that's going to be pretty much the main focus of haunted places in Utah by ghosts. So, Danny, what is your take on ghosts? And I like to point out, I believe you're the only person here who has seen such things.
I don't know if I would say I've seen them, but I've been around and in places where weird things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And
do share.
So I'll share a quick anecdote. When I was newly married, I worked in long-term healthcare, which is, if anybody knows, it's like where you take care of people. And we took care of people with special needs. And it was a big place. It was a 60-bed, huge kind of a house. And in this house, it actually used to be owned by a nunnery. It's a pretty old building, or was an old building. It's been knocked down since. Anyways, there was one day where I and one of my very good friends were in charge of trying to help a person out of a room. They had kind of got themselves in this room and just didn't want to go anywhere. And we had gone into the room. We're trying to help this individual out. And as we're trying to help him, he was being a little grouchy, a little grumpy with us. And as we're watching him, all of a sudden, he kind of turns to us, and then he looks beyond us, as if looking straight through us, and he screamed. And the person and I turned around, trying to figure out if maybe, there was someone else, and we saw a chair slide across the floor. Slide across the floor. Completely. And we sat there. And we watched it slide a little bit to the left. So slide back and forth, literally right in front of us. There was no movement. There was no shaking. There was nothing. We just saw it happen. And we left that room very quickly. All three of us. We got out of there. Second thing, same place. There was a sitting room that was part of the oldest part of the building. The building had been kind of added on to, progressively gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. But in the old building, they had an area that was a sitting room. In the sitting room, we had a rocking chair. And this rocking chair was notorious for, you could walk down the hall and hear it rocking, enter into the room and not see, and it would be completely still. You could leave the room and hear it rocking. Well, one time I was cutting through, it was very, very late at night. I was working an overnight shift. People were asleep, and we heard the rocking back and forth. Boom, 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 boom. And the people that I was working with, they were kind of giggling and laughing. Oh, yeah, this happens all the time. We just call it, Anne or whatever, some ghost. I walked into the room, and rocking until I got to the room, and I literally heard it creak to a stop. Not like a slow down, but literally like, just dead stop. Enter in, completely dead. Walked out, literally right through the door. Heard it start up again. Now, I guess this comes down to, do I believe in ghosts? Is that what kind of you're asking?
That's what I'm asking.
I think that there are energies, powers, and things that are happening around us that we cannot explain, whether or not they are dead people wandering about, or if they're something else entirely, I do not know. I like to consider myself a very open individual to these kind of things.
So you're agnostic to ghosts.
Not even necessarily agnostic to ghosts, because I do think that it probably has something to do with the energy of a place. And I think the energy of the place comes about from the people who live in the place.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
And I think that energy, I think in many ways, we impart a part of ourselves onto the places that we live. And sometimes that part might linger for a little while.
Interesting.
I don't know. That's kind of my thought. What about you, Jake?
Jake? Yeah, Jake and ghosts.
Jake's over there on Facebook.
What are we talking about?
Jake's totally tuned out.
Completely.
I was trying to look for pictures of ghosts, and there was nothing that cropped up. So now I'm skeptical. And then I found the old mill, and I remember us always driving past that. So, because I guess that's haunted too.
I know. Mom and Dad wanted us to talk about that, but I said
that
no.
wasn't on topic.
So, do you believe in ghosts?
One of my favorite ghost stories ever comes from a guy who really, really, really wanted something from someone else. And so he drew a picture of a ghost on a piece of paper with a fishing hook.
I knew exactly where he was going.
Put it through the window. And the person woke up to see a floating shopping list and screamed out, "Oh my gosh, a floating shopping list!" And the guy flipped the paper over and said, "No, I'm a ghost." Favorite ghost story ever.
What the heck?
And for those of you who don't know, that is SpongeBob SquarePants.
One of my favorite.
I didn't know what that was. I was like, I never even.
It's my favorite episode. Mr. Krabs is trying to get something out of it, but he drew the picture of the ghost on the back of a shopping list, and SpongeBob wakes up, and just that scream of "Oh my gosh!" still gets me to this day.
Interesting.
Yep.
So okay,
that's my feeling.
I'll take. You guys can.
If probably out of everyone in this room, I am the biggest skeptic of ghosts. I was in places that were considered like haunted, considered graveyards of like demon people and things like that. I never came across a ghost.
Interesting. So there you go, everyone. Danny is a open-minded believer.
I'm a believer.
Jake is the biggest skeptic, and I think I'm about right in the middle of you two.
Yeah.
I think I'm skeptic, but wouldn't be surprised.
Oh.
You wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised.
You wouldn't turn a corner and be like,
now,
"Oh."
Now I want to pose this. So I was talking to our dad just before this, and I was like, "So, Dad, like, are you a believer in ghosts?" And he said he's experienced it once. He was in a hotel. Can't remember where the hotel was, and he was working at the table next to the dresser, and the first drawer opened up on its own, and our dad was like, "What the heck? Must be like tilted or something." So he pushed the drawer back in, went back to working. The drawer opened again. And instead of freaking out like I probably would, or Danny probably would, or Jake would just laugh at it or whatever, our dad said, "Oh, I have a visitor. If you want the drawer open, I'll keep the drawer open." And he continued to work and left the drawer open the rest of the time.
What a crazy way to... well, you want the drawer open, you might as well have the drawer open.
I better not touch that drawer.
So, there's all the points. So,
you never came across the ghost, Josh? You haven't come across one yet?
there was once in Utah.
Ooh.
So, downtown, I went to an infamous jazz game, and I won't say why it's an infamous jazz game. But afterwards, we had to use the restroom, but it was a popular jazz game. That's when jazz were actually okay. Back in like the early thousands.
When? I was going to say like when.
This was post Malone, not
Post Malone.
Post Malone.
Post Malone and post Stockton. This is when you had like Boozer and the end.
Gotcha.
So it was around that era. So there was a lot of people there, and we decided. I was with my dad, and he's like, "Let's go to Temple Square, which is not too far away, and they should have their restrooms open." We walk there, and when we get to Temple Square, the gates are open, and there was this weird mist all on the floor of Temple Square. And of course, me at the age I think I was 10, I was like, what the heck? And my dad's like, the Little Mist walks in, and we walk across the Relief Society bell. If you guys know where that is. It's on the west side of Temple Square over next to the Tabernacle. And my dad was like, hey, let's take a picture of you. And he pulled up his camera, took a picture, looked at it, and was like, huh. And then took another picture probably 2 or 3 seconds after that. He's like, well, that's interesting. Showed me the picture. And in the first picture, I'm standing in front of the Relief Society bell. And there is fog only to my right, not to my left, but only to my right, in about a little bit taller than me, but it was in kind of an oval shape. In the second picture, it was gone. It wasn't like the camera was fogged up or anything, because it was taken one right after the other. So that's, I would say, my only experience.
Spooky.
So yeah. Those
Spooky.
darn Temple Square visitors.
So, Jake, you say that you are a true skeptic. Have you had any experiences that you would consider to be ghostly?
Not really ghostly. No.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I've tried. I mean, I was searching through my memory, just trying to see if there was something, even an inkling of maybe something. But I don't know. I haven't come across anything like that. And I mean, I was in the Philippines, and that place is just full of, everywhere you turn, they believe in something.
Yeah, if you'd like to find out more about that, we talk about scary stuff in the Philippines in a previous podcast.
So, I mean, we used to walk by, and there was 2 or 3 graveyards that we had walked by. And now over there, they don't bury their dead underground. They bury them in cement boxes.
Crypts.
And it's actually kind of interesting. So you rent out the box, and then as soon as your rent's up and you don't want to pay for it anymore, people go and grab the bones, put it in a small bag, and then put it in a smaller box. It's kind of interesting. Though coming across that when they're in the process of doing that, probably not something you want to have happen. But
gotcha.
But I used to have people that would say, if you're at this point during this time of night, there are things wandering around. Scared the bejeebus out of my Filipino companions. Like, they would be like, it would be like 9 o'clock, and we just have to cut through to get to our house, and it's pitch black, no moon, no nothing. And so you just have your little flashlight that you're looking around with. And I was on the lookout. Never really saw anything of personage. Now, I did see some scary people in some black robes doing some stuff, and that's different. that was one where I'm like, you know what? Maybe we should run. So, but
well, enough about our stories. No, I'm just kidding. That was pretty cool.
That is kind of creepy. We'll have to
and you're
explore that a
skeptic.
little later.
I haven't come across it. And maybe that's it. Because it's one of those, it's like, I think if people believe that and are looking for it, I think you can find stuff. Maybe it's because I'm just like, I have a different,
apathetic to it.
I have a different belief in what happens after you go and what you're allowed to do and so on. So
interesting.
All right. Well, let's move on then to another ghostly place of Utah.
Wait, we didn't actually talk about like what the little girl does in the Dovero Mansion.
Oh, well then rewind, everyone.
There's a lot.
That's right. Jake was looking up a photo, couldn't find it, so I asked Danny about ghosts. So, the little girl, Danny, what does the little girl do?
So, there's actually several different stories that I've come across. Some short, some long. I'll just share a couple of them. My father used to manage this restaurant growing up in the 90s. So, he's talking about the Devereaux Mansion. Mm-hmm. He also would clean the restaurant doing graveyard shifts. On the weekend or on a school break, he would take us kids along to clean with him. He used to tell us stories about how the doors would close behind him, the piano would play, things actually got thrown at him multiple times, and a little girl would laugh and run around. The place itself always gave me the creeps. A few years ago, I took my children to sightsee on the outside while telling them the stories of the memory there. I took a picture of them standing in front of the mansion. A couple years later, I was going through all my old pictures, and there it was, a little girl standing in the door.
Ooh. Do you know what? I'm now a believer. and I'll tell you why.
That was quick.
That didn't take a lot of it.
I just reminded myself, or just remembered, of an experience I had in New Jersey. It was actually in Philadelphia, so not New Jersey, Pennsylvania, on a tour of an abandoned prison.
Oh.
And I have a picture. We took a picture, and there's a figure in a window, and the next picture, which is time-stamped literally a second later, that person's not there.
Oh, yeah. I remember you showing
You
us
did show
that,
us
the face or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
So I believe in ghosts just because
You
Just because of that
you just
picture.
remembered that you believed in ghosts. Oh yeah, I do believe in
I
ghosts.
do believe.
What was I saying?
Now, in looking up, it looks like there have been other reports that the original owner occasionally has been seen wandering the halls in 19th century clothing. People have reported seeing Brigham Young wandering the halls.
It's probably when it was a bar.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like he actually lived there for a little bit. So
Yes, he did. So that was part of during the time when polygamists in Utah were being jailed. That was one of his hiding spots.
Well, and you guys know, like historically, this place holds like some pretty importance in Utah. Everything. This is where, when the U.S. Army came to the Deseret territory to kind of take it over, the meeting place and where they kind of hashed out the details with Brigham Young is the Devereaux House. So, I mean, you had people like William Seward and Philip Sheridan, who were the two generals of the time that were coming in. Another really famous person is General William Tecumseh Sherman. Actually
Ooh.
spent a lot of time here.
He was the one that broke the South.
Yep. William Tecumseh Sherman.
ugh, I'm getting history lessons.
What? Is that a
Also-
bad thing?
No, it's paranormal week.
Oh,
One more, this other one that I came across, it says that there's also a spirit of an older woman, possibly a former housekeeper, who is quite aggressive and will defend the house against people who misuse it.
interesting.
And I also heard that if you don't keep the house clean, she will get aggressive.
She'll whoop you.
So keep the Devereaux house.
Can you just
clean.
imagine?
Dad, blame it.
It's like you take your
There's like
piece
a-
of gum.
there's
Taking care of this thing
There's
for
a floating
300 years.
switch that comes after people. Ah!
Do you know how terrifying that actually would be, though? I mean, just imagine. We laugh about it, but like walking through the darkened hallways, and all of a sudden you see like one of those old rug beaters that is just floating at you aggressively.
Here's I can picture it now. You're walking downstairs and there's like a library codex room. And you walk around the corner and there's this ghostly figure looking through codexes. And they say, "Hello?" And the lady turns and says, "Shh."
Josh,
And then they try talking to her again, and she turns into like this witch lady and screams at him, and then all the index cards come flying out. That's what I picture it as.
so in other words, you picture Ghostbusters the movie.
Yes.
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Anyway, but did you guys know that the Devereaux Mansion wasn't the only mansion that's haunted in Utah?
Tell us of
What's
another
the other one?
Josh.
It's called the McCune Mansion.
Ooh.
The McCune Mansion we've probably actually all seen because it's just up the street from Temple Square, which is a big hub in Salt Lake City. It's the one that has kind of the red turret circular thing on the house, and it's at the corner of two streets. The end.
It's really pretty too. Have you guys ever been inside of it?
I think I did go through a tour when I was in elementary school.
Yeah, you can actually rent it out. So it's
It's
for
a wedding
rent.
event.
It is.
But it's considered one of the finest 20th century homes in the nation, and was built by another railroad tycoon, Alfred McCune, in 1898. So a little bit after the Devereaux Mansion. But it is it's made out of like red brick, or it's red, very red. And it quite stands out between all the houses that are around there. But by 1901, it was finished with an impressive price tag of $1 million. So it was the first $1 million house in Utah, allowing the home itself to be part of the Millionaires Club. The first family moved to Los Angeles in 1920, and it was bought by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and was used as a kind of an inn for visiting people. So people who were coming to visit, the church leaders put them in that home. It was then turned into a McCune School of Music until it was rebought by McCune Associates in 1973 and is now a wedding and event space. So
And once again, it really is like a gorgeous place. Like
21 rooms.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is one of the most amazing. Like even just outside, I didn't know it was haunted. I've been to a wedding there, and it literally is just. It's gorgeous. It really is just absolutely gorgeous.
So it's haunted by two ghosts, according to legend. First off, Alfred's wife, so the person who built the home, his wife Elizabeth is said to haunt the kitchen as she moves around dishes, pots, and pans, and anything else she can get her hands on in the kitchen. So many people have said that during wedding events or even during restoration done in 1999 by a descendant of Alfred, Elizabeth was constantly in the kitchen causing chaos, which is crazy.
Friggin' Elizabeth.
The other one is music. And I missed this. So music comes from a hidden alcove on the third floor. Lights do odd things and cold spots are frequent. But there is a young girl seen to be spotted on the third floor. She is seen dancing through the rooms, an ode to the days when the building was used as a dance studio.
The picture of the girl's actually hanging up.
Is it
one
really?
of the mansion walls, yeah.
Oh my gosh. So one electrician reported seeing the apparition of the girl emerging from a mirror on the first floor. She briefly looked around, decided everything was to her liking, and then vanished back in the mirror. That electrician quit the contract and never returned to the house.
You guys want to hear?
since.
You guys want to hear a story about it?
Yeah.
So this is from a person who works as a set director. In October 2022, I got a job working in the McCune Mansion for film. I got a quick tour of the mansion with the maintenance ladies prior to filming, and they gave us a quick rundown of the place. I've never been there before, but they said it was haunted during the tour, which got me plenty excited about working there. But I didn't want to ask about what kind of paranormal experience happened there in front of my boss. Anyways, we got done with our first day of filming around 8 or 9 o'clock on Halloween night. Of course, it's going to be on Halloween night, right? I was walking back to the parking lot and decided to take some photos of the yard area. I took a few photos of the places I felt were creepy or out on the east side or, just spooky in general. I was all nervous because I got the feeling of being watched. So I took some photos on the bench area where I felt that it was the creepiest spot. Then I took a glance at them and didn't see anything, so I kept taking more pictures, blah, 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 blah. When I got home, I reviewed the last picture I took and noticed a black mass right in the middle. So I zoomed in and standing on the sidewalk corner was the man in a black cape, which is another purported ghost there. I didn't know there'd been a sighting of him. I'd never heard or had asked about him. I got to work the next day and I showed one of the maintenance ladies the picture and they were like, "Oh yeah, I know him. He's a very common ghost around here," which of course freaked me out. I was getting quite skeptic before this experience. It was an awesome place to work though, and the staff were super friendly.
Oh my god.
So that was one of the ghosts I read about as the mysterious man in the black cape. Can I just point out, if I had to come back as a ghost, I would love to come back with a black cape because then you can, and then you run around, just kind of like the Phantom of the Opera kind of looks like, yeah. And he just, anytime someone spots you, you cover your face and then you run away in a very dramatic manner.
I'd want to be a young girl coming through mirrors. I'm just kidding.
Good for you, John.
That was a joke. So yeah, isn't that interesting that's really in the heart of downtown? It's just down the street from the Daughters of the Utah Pioneer Museum, from Temple Square. I work at Temple Square, so it's literally a street north of where I work.
You should go walk down there someday.
Take some pictures. I
really
want to
is
see the black cape
It's
man.
not walking down, it's up on the hill.
Well, then walk up on the hill, Josh.
Heck no, I
It's
don't.
good exercise.
Good.
I don't want to work or walk up the hill and then walk back up the hill to work.
You have to walk up the hill
You have
twice.
to walk up the hill both
Yeah,
ways.
that's what Mom
In
said she
snow.
did at school.
What are you? A boomer?
To all those boomers out there,
We love you.
we love you.
And you liars.
One more quick story. I was 6 or 7 and took dance classes from Virginia Tanner. I remember the room where we changed into the huge flannel nightgowns was always very cold. I was on the top floor in a very small space. My friend Tamara and I were getting ready to change into our street clothes when a little girl walked into the room and then just disappeared. There was a filmy shadowy cast around the room. We were scared and left wearing our nightgowns. We told our moms, but I don't think we ever said anything to Virginia. I've lost track of my friend, but I will never forget that experience. Virginia was one of the dance teachers, by the way.
Ooh.
I didn't make that very clear.
Interesting.
Now, I want to ask you guys something.
Yes.
It seems in a lot of ghost stories and events and places that there is this little girl that just wanders around.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be very common. Like
Very
that is
common.
just a very common ghost that people see. And I mean, if we were able to get to most of the ones that Josh wanted to talk about, I mean, I think there's like 2 or 3
There's a couple
others
more, yeah.
that still have little ghosts. What is it about little girls that scares people so much?
You know, can I tell you? And this is going
The
into,
Shining.
This is going into a little bit of The Shining. There's no little girls. in
No,
The Shining.
where's the twin girls?
Oh, that is in The Shining. Yeah. I'm sorry. I apologize. So it is. Oh, how am I going to explain this?
Oh, Danny's getting goosebumps.
Not goosebumps, but there is a term in ghost hunting, in ghost hauntings, that is innocence corrupted, meaning that sometimes the thing that scares us the most is something innocent that shouldn't be there. And a little girl is about the most innocent creature that you can imagine.
I don't know. I know your daughter, and
That's
I know
true.
Jake's daughter, and they are crazy.
Love you, Izzy.
My daughter is beautiful, kind, scary, wonderful.
That's true.
Is that scary, wonderful, or scary, wonderful?
You decide.
No, I think it's the idea of, and this might even play into more of my skeptic side. It's the idea that if you're going to make up a story that's scary, you want to use like an iconography of something that is very innocent in a not so innocent situation.
It's just really interesting because, I mean, we talked about it kind of towards the beginning when we started doing our podcast, the idea of the white lady.
Yeah.
And that seemed to be
absolutely.
a very common theme amongst that. And it's just kind of interesting that between the little girl and this woman who, if for some reason, is mourning something, those seem to be very common ghosts.
The other really common ghost is old people.
Yep.
The old man is a very, very common ghost motif. So, I don't
Which
know.
is interesting.
Ooh. I didn't really see. I guess there was the one old man in the old Tooele hospital.
Yeah.
Oh, and we'll get there. Which
Which one are you going to go over next, Josh? I'm excited.
This one, we're actually going to go to a more funny one, in my opinion. Just a couple blocks down from the McCune mansion. And I have actually been to this place and had a school dance here. And that is the Rio Grande Depot.
I didn't realize they let you do that.
Yep. So
Don't trains still come through there?
No.
No.
I thought that they had restored it to kind of, or that they wanted to.
They're wanting to
Oh,
restore
that's right.
yeah.
Okay.
So when I was in there, it's just a huge hall that kind of looks, if you think of Central Park Station with everything removed, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, it's a depot.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about a special lady.
A special lady. So instead of being white, instead of being black, instead of being any other color, it's the purple lady.
But not because her skin's purple.
I was going to say.
No, so
Josh was starting to sound a little racist there for a second.
So the purple lady is haunting all the women that need to go potty.
She really
She fancies that bathroom in
she
there.
does love that bathroom.
Yep, so-
we got our own moaning Myrtle over here in Utah.
Yep. So the purple lady, it says we've all heard the story, but if you haven't, after fighting with her fiance, the purple lady threw her engagement ring on the train track.
Oh, I thought he did it.
She changed her mind, dove for the ring, and was run over by the train in the depot.
I think there's a
Oh.
couple different
Okay.
iterations of
Yeah,
this
the ones
one.
I heard was the man, the husband threw it, and then she out of
went-
desperation, went after it.
Oh. Well, anyway, she was run over by a train. Now she wanders the halls of the ladies' room of the Rio Grande Depot in all her purple spookiness.
Her purple
Because she
spooky-
has a, from my understanding, isn't it? She has a big purple hat.
yeah.
That's one of those 1900s
So it was like an
really fancy
Edwardian
hats.
Yeah.
looking hat.
Yeah. And but it's also a purple overcoat is what they say.
Oh,
Yeah.
our mom would love that.
Just purple all around.
Just purple.
Maybe we should have mom go visit.
I don't know how anybody could be worried about purple ghosts in the Rio Grande when most of the time, the last couple times I've been down there, what I've worried about the most is the drug dealers trying to get me to buy something.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's
Now,
what is that?
now I will say this.
Just there.
People have fun with this. People say, oh, there's no purple lady, but the staff of the Rio Grande Cafe have pulled pranks on people. They actually stuffed a mannequin and dressed him up like the purple lady and would hide it in the bathroom stalls in the women's bathroom.
I mean, if there's one way to scare someone, especially a skeptic such as myself, do that.
The mannequins.
Oh, yeah.
I get scared of like vacuums in the dark.
I mean, we've talked about it. You wake up and everything. But again, in my mind, it's like, that's not a ghost. That's someone that shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear a scary story?
Yes.
So my wife and I were laying in bed.
Okay.
That's scary.
It's already scary.
And we were trying to connect our phone to the television that's in our room. And my wife was pressing, it was Josh's TV. So she kept pressing it, wasn't popping up on the TV we had in the room. All of a sudden I rolled over and there were lights coming from underneath our door because we close our door to our bedroom. And I was like, what the heck? This was like 11 o'clock at night. I was like, is someone in our house? And there was talking. Somebody was talking out in the living room. And I was like, okay, whatever, got to be a man here. Even though most of the time I'm like, Kylie, go out there. Save yourself. But I went out there and it turns out that the phone had connected to the other one and was playing. And so all the lights and stuff was just my wife trying to connect to the wrong television.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, I've had the experience where you think Jesus has come because your child turns on the light in the middle of the nighttime and all of a sudden the room is brighter than bright and you're like, oh my gosh.
I'm being raptured. Or at least someone in this room is.
My wife is. I'm going somewhere else.
So for any of those, I would feel comfortable saying to any of those who'd like to see the purple lady, stop by the Rio Grande with a gun.
When it reopens.
When it reopens, and I say a gun because there's a lot of drug activity and some not good things.
We do not support you shooting any of the drug dealers or homeless population.
But you could scare them off. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do it.
We talked about it earlier. You just need to bring a really big switch or something that you can chase after them.
But go to the ladies' restroom, and if you're a male, stand outside and just see if anything happens. But go in there, and the purple lady will be there
for sure.
Yep. And if you want your money back, quality assurance. 100% no.
You might be able to get your parking validated, though.
That's true.
Tell them Twaddling Along sent you.
So,
like who?
How much time we got left here?
We got about 20 minutes.
Okay, then let's go to the spookiest one, I believe, of them all. It's even turned into a haunted house that is sketchier than sketch.
It is.
My sister-in-law went to this place. And she signed the waiver,
which was stupid.
And
not that she is stupid if she's listening.
No, not stupid at all. But her and her friend were separated because one was taken and strapped to a table, and the other one was thrown into a closet.
Ugh.
I'm really excited to hear where this is. I don't know if I read this.
You spoke about it earlier. This is the old Tooele Hospital.
See, I just saw that it had been open for entertainment and haunting purposes. I didn't see that they actually,
This is the legendary haunted house Asylum 49.
Yep.
Which is actually haunted, everyone. So if you go in there and you're seeing things, they might not be just teenage stupid actors. They could be the real deal.
or it could be the poor elderly folks that were in the other side of the place that actually still have the nursing home wondering, I'm lost. Where am I?
That nursing home, thank goodness, has actually been closed down.
Has it?
It's now a cafe and boutique.
Oh, man, I must have some older information because that was something that I had read and I'm like, that's just sad.
No, but they did. I mean, they were still absolutely around. As a matter of fact, there for a while, they were using it as a staff. They would have the folks in the old folks home come and actually like scare people. It was actually probably part of the reason that the old folks home got closed down, because I don't think it was very ethical.
Yeah, so this building was built back in 1873 by a man known as Samuel F. Lee. So he built it as a hospital for traveling people who were going to the gold rush.
Yeah, he built it as a house first.
Yep.
And then it eventually switched over to a hospital.
So it was a hospital, and a lot of times these people had either were coming back from the gold rush, were exhausted,
Tuberculosis,
everything. Mm-hmm. And so they were sometimes declared mentally ill. And that's where they were placed, was in this hospital. Several years later, in 1913, it was a place for the elderly that was known as the county poorhouse, which I can only imagine why it was called that. But yes, it was kept old people, and many people died there because of lack of care.
Yeah, it was the reason it was called county poorhouse is probably for the saddest reason that you can possibly imagine.
Yeah,
it's because there was nowhere else for these people to go in their old age.
Yep,
they didn't have any family, they didn't have any friends, and so literally the state and whoever was in charge kind of threw them in this house, and it was horribly underfunded.
Yes,
horribly underfunded, and it was not great working conditions, and there's talk of abuse that happened. There's talk of just all sorts of pretty awful things.
So, people noticed that it was unfunded and it was growing, and so they decided to turn it back into a hospital in 1953. But the people who wanted to fund it ended up leaving.
Yeah.
So the hospital was never properly funded. In fact, there wasn't even a morgue.
Nope.
So there was a refrigerated room that they would stack the dead bodies on top of each other.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was a pretty inhumane place.
Yes. So
have you guys ever been out there?
No, I never want to.
So it is in the weirdest place that you could possibly imagine. It is like in the foothills of Tooele, in a neighborhood. So on one side of where this Tooele hospital is, you got a church. There's a church right there. All throughout the back of the Tooele hospital is the cemetery. So this hospital and the connecting old folks home literally looked out over the cemetery. And still does. I mean, it's still there. It's, it is just the weirdest place ever.
What a happy moral booster when you're in the hospital. Hey, look, cemetery.
Yeah, so as you're going through Asylum 49, like I said, you may come across actors, you may come across crazy people, but you could be coming across a ghost named Wes. Many reports have come from the hospital telling of an old man known only as Wes. It is said that he was a patient of the elderly care facility and that he suffered greatly from Alzheimer's. At the time of his death, he was very confused and scared, and it's thought that his energy has carried over into death with him. A heartbreaking realization, truly. He is most reported in and outside of the room that he stayed in while residing at the building. At one point, a medium had come to visit the structure to assist Wes in crossing over. She stated that it is almost impossible as there is an extremely dark entity attached to him.
Creepy. I don't like that.
So Wes is haunting the place, as well as Samuel himself, the one who built the building in the first place. They say that he actually interacts with guests.
Didn't he hang out in the common room?
Yep. So he hung out in the common room, and his son, Thomas, is also said to be with him in many of the occasions and reports that have been said.
My favorite part of this, and I think you guys are coming from the same website that I am, the old Ghost Adventures.
Yes.
My favorite part is that he talks himself up. Like, there are reports that he's like, look at all the good deeds that I've done. I'm a great person. It's like, oh, you're dead, bud.
I'm amazing.
The other one that I'll just mention briefly is Maria and the Portal.
See, this one creeps me out. Don't know why. I think it's because it's a unique story.
See, I don't know this one. I have other ghosts.
So it says the most interesting of all the hauntings is the nurse in white named Maria. She is believed to guard a portal that has reportedly been seen at the facility. The portal is described as being extremely bright and formed as the way to direct the deceased of the building into the afterlife.
Minecraft.
So she leads into the nether. She leads the other ghosts in the area into the afterlife.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
And good old
So
Samuel's like, no,
Hold on a second.
I'm too good.
I need to talk a little bit about myself.
So people at the elderly care center, which they were talking about a little bit earlier, the newer one, said that they would see Maria in the room just before they passed away, and Maria was talking about leading them to this portal.
Maria. See, now
Maria.
I have two other ghosts on mine that
Tell
they
us
talk
about
about.
the other ghosts.
It's a little girl named Jessica.
Jessica.
Yep, it's a little girl named Jessica, and she just tags along with visitors.
Nice.
The other one's actually really creepy. One person reported that while he was walking down a hallway, he felt someone walking behind him.
Ooh.
And so he turned to look, and he saw a black figure crawling up onto the ceiling.
See, and this is where I stop everything and I move on. Thanks for watching this podcast. We're going to do some smudging and some prayers.
Now, I want to point out
Smudging.
that my brothers love scaring themselves.
I do.
And so here they are. They're talking about these. Danny kind of believes in the energy. Josh now believes because of the picture. And they find out how to spook themselves even more. Like, they make me play scary games about ghosts.
I'm sorry, that was really funny. Though.
But you got to admit, it wasn't actually all that scary.
It wasn't that scary. It was just humorous. Mostly because
I was screaming at the top of my lungs.
Well, that's true.
That's what made humorous.
And then Danny's son always just hung out outside. And what this game is you go in and you try to find out what ghosts.
Phasmophobia.
Yeah, you try to find out what ghost is hanging out in there. And so they convinced me to buy this. And so here I am going through and exploring. And Josh, literally, you would say, Josh, don't go in there. You'll die. And Josh is like, no. And then he'd go in. And what happens? He dies every time.
I'm what's his face? I am James or Samuel. I'd go in there because I was the brave one, and I would die.
Well, what's really funny is like their mic works with the game, and so we would be yelling at the ghost. So
yeah. There's one thing that I want to bring up, and then I think Danny needs to end this with one more story if he's willing.
Queen Mary.
Most of the haunts at Asylum 49 experience orbs in the hallways. So, Danny, I'm going to leave the last couple minutes to you explaining your Queen Mary spookums.
Oh, I would love to do a whole episode on Queen Mary, but we'll tell you a little story. First of all, if anybody who is listening who's not from Utah and doesn't want to drive out to Tooele to look at this thing, this is actually in a lot of different movies.
Yep.
So, World Fastest Indian. The building is in there. It's also in The Stand, 1994.
I have never heard of the world's fastest Indian
with Anthony Hopkins.
No.
Oh, wonderful movie. It's not about a Native American. It's about an Indian motorcycle. It's an old guy who's trying to break the land speed record.
Oh, this is the one that just barely came out.
Yeah.
Yes.
For some reason.
I mean, when you say barely came out 20 years ago.
Was it 20 years ago?
2006.
I've seen some
it's
clips
just
recently.
popped up recently again. Yeah. So, all right.
As well as Ghost, I can't remember if it was Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures did an episode.
Oh, but those are my favorite.
Those are my favorite.
Mostly because it...
Ghost Bro.
If you can...
Hey, Ghost Bro.
If you are here, please let us know by making a noise.
And then you hear, dude, click the play button. That's when you're supposed to click the play.
And then they hear the tap and all of a sudden it's...
The best was the British ones back in the day.
The British ones back in the days were my favorite.
Just because that I don't think there was ever a point when they weren't swearing.
It was like just one long censor. All right, should we talk? This will be my final thought.
Yes, so Queen Mary is in L.A.
Long Beach.
Long Beach. I just went on a cruise there and saw it from the cruise ship.
And the Queen Mary is an old ship. It's an old ocean liner. And me and my wife had gone down, and we were just trying to find something to do and decided to go on the Queen Mary. And they had what they call the haunted tour, where they just kind of went through. And, it's supposed to be a pretty darn haunted place. And I, for as much as I say that I believe in this stuff, I'm also pretty darn skeptical. And I was like, oh, this is spooky. Oh, it was scary, whatever. Until we got to the boiler rooms, which were in Queen Mary. and in the boiler rooms, me and my wife looked at each other and we mentioned out loud, and we were in a big group. We mentioned out loud that we just felt like we were being watched. Just the kind of an eerie thing. And everybody around us kind of, you could tell that everybody was kind of feeling the same thing. And it could have been just someone up on the rafters, like staring at us creepily. I don't know.
Now, I just want to point out, just because I'm a history dude, this is the RMS Queen Mary.
It is.
Meaning it's from the same people.
Well, it's not Titanic. It's not the Titanic.
The ocean liner.
But it is an ocean liner. Yeah.
But this was only about 20 years after the Titanic.
Yeah.
So it's an old ship,
it's
and
a really
it
old
looks
ship.
Old.
It is, but
beautiful.
To go back, it is a really cool, really kind of thing. But anyways, we were in the boiler rooms where there was supposedly a lot of horrible things that have happened. Boiler explosions back in the day that took out 20, 30 people. So we're feeling all creeped out a little bit. And our host, the person who was taking us around, our tour guide.
The ghost host.
The tour guide had mentioned, hey, the fun thing is, this is our last room. Why don't you guys go around, take some pictures, and then we're going to turn off the lights. And then we're all going to exit. That's what they do. It's to spook you out that one last time so they get a good Yelp review. Well, we're taking pictures, and we were taking pictures with my phone, and my phone just kind of stopped working, which was weird. And then it came on and it took a picture that was a little off, and we're like, oh, this is spooky. I'm so scared. And me and my wife were kind of one of the last ones in the room. And so I was holding up my phone, and my wife was right behind me, and it is pitch black in this room now. And the door is open behind us. There's a little bit of light shining through, but where we are is pitch black. And as I'm staring at my phone, we see an orb. Now, I will tell you, more than likely, it has a completely logical explanation as to why there was an orb that floated.
Aliens.
But at that moment, with all the fear coursing through my mind, I turned to my wife, who had seen the orb as well, and we skedaddled quickly. With that nervous giggle that you get, and we went out. We went out into the fresh air on top of the boat and ate ice cream.
Hey, everyone that sees a ghost should see ice cream. Now, my question is, with the orb, did the orb make a noise?
No noise.
No noise.
No, literally only it was as quintessential. If you've ever seen the Ghost Adventure, Ghost Hunter, whatever shows, where it's like the show and there's like an orb that floats down. That's literally all we saw.
The little dust that goes across the screen.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Except that it was in person, and I could see it outside of my phone, and Pauline saw it through my phone because she was standing behind me. But I was holding my phone up and watched it outside my phone. Now, once again, more than likely a completely logical explanation as to what happened there, but it spooked me enough that from that point on, I've been like, well, maybe there's some mystery left in the world, and I need to keep my mind a little open about it.
And there you go, ladies and gentlemen.
We'll have to do a whole one on the Queen Mary, maybe for a history.
Yep.
One, because there's not really enough to do like one of these paranormal ones about the Queen Mary, but the history of the Queen Mary is actually a really fascinating thing. It was a troop transport. It was a luxury liner. It did all sorts of things.
And there you go. Are ghosts real? Do they haunt Utah and California?
And
who knows? Go check it out yourself.
There are some really cool, for those in Utah, you can go to these places. They're not open to the public. You can't actually go inside unless you're, going at an event or something like that. But we do have a ghost tour that happens around Halloween. Mm-hmm. I've never been, but I've heard it's a lot of fun. You jump on a bus and the tour guide puts on his creepy voice like this. Welcome to the Utah Scary Tour.
See, they have one in Park City too.
I think so.
Yeah, Park City is known to be one of the haunted places.
I do want to, this will be a part 1. I want to in the future do a part 2 and part 3 because there's a lot of places that we didn't get to talk about.
That is true. There is a long list.
It made me laugh when I looked up like haunted places in Utah. Like it came up and said that Utah is one of the most haunted places in America. And I'm like, really?
Yeah. I've never seen anything. I mean, we've got a lot of really pioneer built old places. We've got like the Egyptian theater. We've got
This is the place Monument is actually supposed to be very haunted.
Supposedly.
I was reading that there is a church down, I can't remember the name of the town, but there's a church
I read this.
that has just a lady that just plays the organ randomly.
Yeah, it's like a 3-story church, one of
Yeah.
the old pioneer churches in the area, and she plays the organ.
Well, considering how hard it is to call an organist, they are probably really grateful. They're like, well, if you're going to play, you might as well play it.
That's why I don't want Grandma McBride's organ when it's...
Amen to that.
Oh.
Because Grandma's still going to want to play that.
No, thank you, Grandma. Not now. Play it all you want, Grandma. But on the other side, not so much.
The heavenly organs are waiting.
Just play the organ in the temple. That's what it is.
That's all we need. Yeah, and the big scary place we didn't even talk about, and it wasn't even on the original list. Skinwalker Ranch.
I deliberately left that out because I knew that would be a whole
That will
episode.
have to be
That's
a
like
whole
that's
episode.
like a 2-parter. Because
I think so, because it is.
Because it's not only ghosts.
Aliens,
it's aliens, ghosts,
Bigfoot,
and
it's-
gold, and everything.
It has to do with everything.
I want to talk about Lake Powell. Do you know Lake Powell's haunted?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I was reading some stuff up on Lake Powell. There's some creepy stuff that happens to people out there.
See, people, just keep tuning in. We're going to do a whole anthology of Utah's haunted places.
Oh, don't we have family go to Lake Powell?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do.
Hey, just so you're aware, if you hit cold spots, you will feel hands at your feet.
Oh, I don't like that.
So what we're saying is put your feet in the water. Drive around. If it's warm, someone's peeing. If it's not warm, ghosts.
Even in the heat.
And it's literally, it's just those two. It's either you're in pea water or ghost water down in Lake
Sure.
Powell.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Shout out to Spencer. Woo!
I think there's probably a good number of because a lot of our reservoirs and everything are literally on top of old ghost towns. I mean, Echo was the town of Echo. Jordanelle had part of Heber in it. I mean, there's
Lake Powell is supposedly on a Native American. I almost said Indian. I'm so sorry. Native American burial ground.
so. I mean,
And I will also say this. We also have a lot of ghost towns in Utah.
a lot of ghost towns.
Especially along the Oakers, where these towns are completely abandoned and there's just empty buildings.
We one of my favorite places to go on camp when we were in Boy Scouts, and later, even when I was a little bit older, is a place called Cemetery Hill that was up American Fork Canyon. And for the longest time, I just didn't even question why it was called Cemetery Hill. There was a town in American Fork Canyon, and it was a big, thriving, industrious, 5,000 people town that the only thing left is this hill where people are buried, where idiot Boy Scouts would camp on top of the graves. So,
Just to get a little bit closer to them.
exactly.
There's a lot of buildings. Even when I drive up to Bear Lake and you drive through Woodruff and
Yep.
Randolph.
Yeah.
And up along I-15, you're like, there's a lot of buildings that look like they're about to fall over.
Yeah.
We should do something about that.
We should go push them.
Historical monument.
I've done my
Done.
final thoughts. Jake, your final thoughts.
What did we talk about? I can't even remember anymore.
See, everyone, he has to believe in ghosts now because they made him forget.
That's right. I believe in. Sorry, I'm falling asleep. What are we talking about? No, I'm one of those again. Not a big believer in ghosts. If you're a believer in ghosts, good job. I'm glad that you came across something. You've earned it.
You've earned it.
I haven't had the experience. And so it's one of those things where I'm like, eventually I'll probably have the experience and I'll probably just deny it.
Here's what I'll say.
Literally.
One of the part whatever of Utah haunted places, we'll do it in a haunted place.
Oh, that would be fun. What haunted place are we going to go do it at?
Your house.
Oh, thanks, Josh. Ooh.
One of the scariest haunts I've ever heard about. My dear brother Danny was laying in his bed. He was watching down a hall. And all of a sudden he saw a white figure across the hall. Scared him so bad.
And then cross back. It scared me even worse. But see, that wasn't a ghost. That was when I was scared about aliens.
Oh,
It
well, it
just
turns
my
out it was my
father
dad.
and my father and my
In his underwear.
in his underwear, wandering back and forth.
Thinking it would be funny. Hey, Brogan doesn't listen to this, right?
Yes, he does.
Oh, crap. Never mind then.
All right, final words for you, Josh.
Final words is there's a lot of unexplained out there. That's what I almost said James Kirk. What's his name?
Jim Kirk is in like Captain Kirk from Star Trek?
What's this? What's the name?
Are you talking about Will Shatner?
William Shatner says there's a lot of unexplained things in this world. In fact, I remember I was dying on a hospital bed and I was just watching him. It was very soothing. Anyways, I don't know where I'm going with
Especially
this.
when he does his pauses.
His long, drawn-out pause.
to the unexplained. But there are a lot of unexplained things in Utah, and so I say, get out of your flippin' basements.
Yeah, have fun.
Go explore. Go and find a ghost and write us about it on emails at twaddlingalong.com.
That's emails with an S at twaddlingalong.com.
Or don't.
And here's what I'll also say.
End it, Josh. End it.
They're real.